This is Cinematic's Hollywood Unmasked. Blake Lively is accused of trying to silence critics through an aggressive and highly questionable legal blitz. Her attorneys have served subpoenas to at least 16 creators demanding access to bank records, IP addresses, emails, and subscriber data. This comes while she simultaneously claims security concerns for her own deposition, creating a glaring double standard that many in the creator and journalist communities are calling out as hypocritical and coercive. The subpoenas have left small creators scrambling, confused, and fearful for their privacy and their rights. In one of the most concerning aspects, Blake Lively's legal team has requested detailed user information from Google, including first and last names, physical addresses, subscriber registration data, length of service, payment details, IP addresses from content upload to view sessions, and even access and login records. This goes far beyond what most civil cases attempt, raising critical questions about legal boundaries, data privacy, and freedom of expression. Creators like Andy Sr., Donna Bowling, and others from platforms like Popcorn Planet and Daily Dose of Donna are speaking out about how invasive and retaliatory these subpoenas feel. They describe an overwhelming legal strategy meant not to protect reputations, but to discourage speech through intimidation and financial strain. Several creators who received these subpoenas have never been in contact with each other, never worked with Justin Baldoni, and never published defamatory content. Their content was based on public court records or editorial opinions. The subpoenas, however, lumped them all into a presumed conspiracy to smear Blake Lively, funded supposedly by Baldoni. This claim is not only unproven, it's also being used as a pretext to seek highly sensitive personal data without individualized suspicion or clear legal justification. Behind the scenes, creators and their lawyers are trying to understand the legal standing for these subpoenas. Some attorneys have managed to get responses from Blake Lively's team, but the answers are inconsistent and evasive. In some cases, creators were told the subpoenas were about subscriber data. In others, the same law firm Manett Phelps and Phillips denied asking for bank records, only to later confirm to another attorney that they did. The result is chaos, confusion, and a chilling effect on online discourse. Some creators, including those with small audiences and no monetization, are being targeted too. They feel attacked simply for covering a public case and expressing an opinion that Blake Lively may not like. The Daily Mail has picked up the story, and several journalists have confirmed they were contacted by her team before publication and encouraged to avoid covering content creators altogether. Many declined or changed course after realizing the story was much bigger than celebrity gossip. What makes this situation more serious is that the subpoenas are extremely broad. They do not specify which videos or posts they concern. Instead, they request account information from May 2024 to the present, covering every video, every login, and every IP address, regardless of whether the content had anything to do with Blake Lively. This is legally questionable, and in the eyes of many legal experts, a textbook example of an overbroad subpoena designed more to intimidate than to obtain relevant evidence. During a recent court hearing, the judge did push back slightly on the timeline requested by Blake Lively's team. He denied their effort to extend subpoena power through September 30th and instead limited it to August 15th, but he also dismissed attempts by Justin Baldoni's attorneys to argue that the subpoenas were irrelevant and abusive. The judge shut down the argument abruptly, stating that now was not the time to discuss facts, and only scheduling matters would be considered that day. Many watching the hearing felt that this was a missed opportunity for the court to recognize the seriousness of the concerns raised by content creators and their attorneys. The problem remains that even though the court limited the subpoena period, Blake Lively's team continues to act as if they can go beyond it. Creators report that when they question the subpoenas or the deadlines, her lawyers direct them to Google. When they contact Google, they receive copy-pasted responses stating that their data may be released unless they file a legal motion by July 31st, but without clarity from Blake Lively's team or support from Google, creators are left stuck without legal representation. It is almost impossible for them to respond effectively, and that appears to be the point. These subpoenas are not about gathering targeted evidence. They are about creating maximum disruption, fear, and cost for those speaking freely online. This is especially dangerous when applied to journalists, creators, and analysts covering public court proceedings. Blake Lively's legal team has not identified any false claims. They simply claim that negative commentary constitutes harassment or defamation, and thus justifies extraordinary legal access to user data and private financial records. Some lawyers working with creators have also noted that Blake Lively's team is asking for information that they already have, or that is irrelevant to any claim in the case. For example, IP addresses used to upload videos are nearly always Google addresses since uploads go through Google servers. This renders the data useless for identifying conspirators but potentially harmful to creators, who would then have their entire YouTube or Google accounts open to outside inspection. The wider implications of this case cannot be overstated. If celebrities or their attorneys are allowed to use civil subpoenas to demand personal data from people who criticize them online, it could set a precedent that threatens digital speech across platforms and across industries. Creators would be forced to self-censor for fear of litigation and surveillance, further undermining trust in digital expression. What makes this worse is that most of the creators targeted are not political activists or agents of some organized campaign. They are people covering a public legal drama from different angles. Many of them do not even share opinions. Rather, they relay what has been filed in court or said by witnesses and attorneys, yet they are being treated as hostile agents with something to hide. Blake Lively's legal argument seems to rest on the idea that criticism itself is a coordinated attack, a smear campaign funded by an opponent. The absurdity of this claim becomes clear when you see the diversity of voices she is accusing. None of them match in tone, in politics, in motivation, or in strategy. Some have even been critical of both sides, yet they too are targeted in a series of increasingly aggressive legal moves. Some have theorized that the legal team is using these subpoenas as a billing strategy, knowing that the more they request, the more hours they can charge to their high-profile clients. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Others believe this is a scare tactic, plain and simple, designed to cause emotional and financial distress to content creators until they give up and stop talking about the case. Whatever the true motive, the result is the same. Creators are now considering collective action to quash the subpoenas and demand a hearing on the legality and scope of what is being requested. Several attorneys have begun coordinating with each other, sharing filings and comparing notes in an attempt to create a unified defense strategy for the creator community affected by this. One of the most alarming parts of the subpoena is how it treats viewers as suspects. By asking for subscriber data and payment information, Blake Lively's team implies that those who watch content critical of her might be part of the conspiracy or helping fund it. This is not only paranoid, it is a violation of digital privacy on a dangerous scale, and if allowed to proceed, it could encourage other high-profile figures to try the same. The idea that watching a YouTube video could make someone subject to surveillance is dystopian, yet that is where this legal strategy is headed. And while many legal analysts believe that these subpoenas will ultimately be narrowed or thrown out in court, the damage to speech and to trust is already done. Viewers, creators, and journalists alike are being told that certain topics are off limits and that asking the wrong questions can land you in court. Some creators who were never monetized or who only made passing comments about the case have been targeted simply for expressing sympathy with the wrong side. One creator who was a victim of domestic violence shared that she began covering the case because she felt triggered by Blake Lively's public dismissal of that issue. She now faces legal scrutiny for trying to raise awareness and share her personal truth. The irony is that many of these creators began covering the story because they believed in the public interest angle. They wanted to expose inconsistencies in the legal system, support survivors, and document what they saw as hypocrisy in Hollywood. They never imagined they would be facing subpoenas and legal intimidation for doing so. In the coming weeks, more hearings will take place. Attorneys for content creators will meet with Blake Lively's team to negotiate terms and, if necessary, file formal objections to the subpoenas. Creators are also considering fundraisers to support legal costs, though most are trying to keep expenses low by working together and sharing representation through this process. Creators have learned a harsh lesson about how power works online. It is not enough to be right or honest or careful. It is also necessary to be rich or connected or silent. Otherwise, you may find yourself dragged into court not for what you said, but for daring to say anything at all. And so this case becomes more than a celebrity lawsuit. It becomes a symbol of what happens when speech meets power, when the platforms that host our voices refuse to defend them, and when the legal system becomes a tool of censorship instead of justice. Creators will continue to speak because their stories matter and because the right to tell them must not be decided by the wealthy.
Just keeps away from her. And then I said to her, I said, you know, you're going to teach her everything she knows.
Legal allegations in a news context. All claims are from official filings and no guilt is implied until proven in court. Please keep all discussions respectful. Allegations are not facts until proven in court.